Okay, I've been trying to do this a couple times now. Let's see if we can get through it one more time. At whatstheharm.net. A great site that everyone should visit. Let's go through these here. Child vegetarianism. Some name unpronounceable. Died malnutrition. Her parents followed a strict diet of uncooked organic foods for religious reasons. She weighed a fraction of what she should at her age. Her parents were cleared of manslaughter charges, but were convicted of neglect of their children. Lori Atakian, can't pronounce that last one, don't really care to, died malnutrition, pneumonia, 17 months. Lori's parents, concerned about food additives, were advised to give her an organic vegetarian diet. She was also treated with herbal and homeopathic remedies and an energy machine, whatever that is. Eric and Laura Cottam died malnourished. Though they had money available, the parents believed the money belonged to God and refused to spend it on food. The entire family was malnourished from a purely vegetarian diet. Moving on. Unpronounceable name. Died malnutrition. She died of a chest infection brought on by malnutrition due to a fruitarian diet she was fed. Age 9 months old. Caleb Moorhead died malnutrition. Caleb's parents, devout Seventh-day Adventists, tried to feed him using a vegan diet and herbal remedies. He died of vitamin B12 deficiency. Let's see here. Crown Shakur. His parents were vegans and tried to feed him a diet of mostly soy milk and apple juice. He weighed only 3.5 pounds when he died. 6 weeks old. Cheers. Unknown name, call her Jane Rowe, age 12, rickets, degenerative bone disease. 12-year-old is in the hospital with a degenerative bone condition that has left her with the spine of an 80-year-old woman. Lack of vitamin D from her strict vegan diet from birth is believed to be the cause. Yeah, so why am I saying that? What's the point? The initial point is that vegetarian is not the answer end-all be-all for human nutrition, at least for child nutrition. It can be used for children, though it's a very tricky thing, and children have a very different need for what for nutrition than adults do. Okay. Adults don't need meat as much as children do. But as far as I've been able to discern from what information I have gathered, humans are still omnivores and still require both sides of that coin. Granted, I will grant that the consumption of meat is grossly outmatched by the need to eat meat. And there's some work that can be done on that end. But I have a problem with this bizarre reverence I see for vegans and vegetarianism, where people will say, "Oh, I can't do that myself. I can't be a vegan. I can't be a vegetarian." But I really respect those who can, and I don't at all, because I see it mostly as a form of hubris and arrogance, and that points to the thread of logic that was running through this video that I'm responding to with Richard Dawkins and Peter Singer, where they were trying to make the point that one second. Okay, and back and had to wet the whistle and all that jazz. So the logical strain that was going through the whole thing was that it's speciesist to put humans above animals and just eat them because we're somehow better than them. And that we should have great concerns for their suffering and not cause their suffering by eating them, because that's being speciesist. And my question, the reason I question that line of logic, and they don't really provide the chain that logic follows, so it's really hard for me to follow. But the reason I question that is because I don't see killer whales concerning themselves with the suffering of seals. I don't see owls concerned with the suffering of mice, and I don't see the mice hating owls for causing their suffering. I don't see seals hating killer whales for their caused suffering. And my argument is more that it is precisely because we are different than the other animals that we are able to make that distinction and say we have a choice in not causing suffering. So I don't see it as being speciesist, I guess. Man, this is it's such a tough subject, and I just want to say that I'm stumbling and stuttering. Sorry about that. I don't see it. It is precisely because of the differences between humans and other animals that we are able to cause less suffering in those animals. I'm all for causing less suffering in animals. That's great. But I do want to go back to my earlier point, which is that animals, or that humans are omnivores and nutritionally should be eating meat, at least in childhood and early adulthood. That is a very important time when we should be eating some form of meat, as far as I have been able to discern from nutritional studies and things like that. If there's evidence to the contrary, please, someone let me know, because I would love to hear it. Moving on from that, sorry, I'm trying to collect all my thoughts here, because this is just like an off-the-cuff response, and it's really lame and slipshod and crappy. One of the things that puzzles me the most is when I talk to vegetarians and vegans and try to understand where they're coming from. I should say ethical or moral reasoning, vegans and vegetarians, because I've met plenty of vegans and vegetarians who just don't really like meat and just don't eat it because of that. I'm focusing on the ones that are not eating meat because they feel it is the better moral choice. Most of the time, they've never heard of the idea of lab-grown meat, and when they, in the rare instances where I have met them where they do know about lab-grown meat, they show no support for it, and that baffles me to no end. I can't understand why you wouldn't be all for creating meat in a lab where no animal gets hurt, or maybe an initial animal gets hurt, but after that, there's no more suffering and pain. It seems to me to be a perfect solution to the problem, where you would have no pain and suffering and still satisfy the need for the small amount of meat that humans should be consuming for nutritional reasons. Yeah, so that's my three main points. One, veganism and vegetarianism gets way more respect than I think it deserves. Two, saying that we should somehow treat animals differently is speciesist, and therefore I don't understand why trying to reduce the suffering in animals is not also speciesist. And number three, why not look for ways to resolve the problem as opposed to just telling people they can't eat meat. Those seem like three perfectly valid points to me, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack from vegans and vegetarians, so on and so forth, and that sucks, but if you could just have a reasoned, calm response, that would be fantastic. So I guess that's it. Cheers.